What's common among all this is that they are about the same age. This 1 gallon is the same age as this larger 15 and the mid-size 5 gallons. One of the things that I try to emphasize is that if you want large bonsai, you do not put it in your bonsai pot. That is to work on details and refinement, but not to fatten. So in the initial state, if you want large bonsai, then do not keep it in small containers, or worse yet, to take this and to put in a bonsai pot. So in this series, I'm going to be talking a lot about the Blvd Cypress, just because it's one of the easier ones to work with, and it doesn't hurt me, but it will apply to almost all your conifers, like your hinokis and your junipers and things like that, so that what I'm teaching you with the Blvd Cypress will be very beneficial for a large segment of your bonsai collection. One obvious question I'm sure you have is, hey Hero, what's with all the browning? Inside, like this, is kind of a minor nuisance. You could avoid it to a large extent, but when it happens like that, all you have to do is to flick it off and perhaps pinch the tips. But if the tips are brown, you got a problem. So all you have to do is actually just pluck these off, and you can already see that there are new growth coming in its place. So like I said, it's just a minor nuisance. Just kind of, well, probably should be a little more careful than me, but all you have to do is take these off, and then these new ones will grow back in its place. But you do have to give it a little more sunlight. So what we did was we used this growth to fatten the bottom. So it's not unlike the sacrifice branch. The sacrifice branch usually down low and try to fatten that area. But when you want to make the whole thing grow large, you make it grow large. Very simple concept. You're probably wondering, hey, Master Yo, what? That is not a bonsai, it's too tall. Well, the solution is make it short. Next thing you're saying is, Master Yo has flipped. That is now one ugly tree. But this is ugly with a purpose. This. How about that? Now you're going, Master Yo, you really have flipped out. No, there's a plan. What I did was I kept this as a stub, and I'm going to take this branch and tie it to this as a brace. I'll tie this, and in time, this part will get cut off. Tips off of these. If you don't take the tip, it's going to keep elongating and it will not fill back in. So what we want is to fill back in, but keep these long, because we want the bottom to be wide and come narrow to the top. So we're going to just take the tips off. And then back here, maybe like so, and come around here, we'll now, this is not an attempt to style anything. We're just still working on the basic line, the main trunk. So what's going to happen next is this is kept unpruned. We're going to let this thing grow very vigorously, and they usually do on top because they fight for that sunlight. And somewhere down the line, maybe 2 or 3 years, as this fattens, you might get down to here. So this is all the steps in preparing for a good material, not the finished product. It looks like it has very good, strong root structure, and as it goes up, it's somewhat ugly, but that's okay. At this stage, it could look like that. Now, this is going to require patience. We'll probably have it as material for the next 3 to 5 years. If you wait and work slightly, in 2 to 3 years, your material should start to look somewhat like this. A good bonsai? No, it's not finished yet. But is it a good material for a bonsai? It's good. And that's what you have to learn to do first. You can't take raw material and jump into a finished bonsai. When you do that, it always looks unfulfilled potential. What I'm doing here was to take the time, okay? Now this is getting almost 10 years old. Bottom, and then keep only the third on top. You notice that this comes apart rather easily. It's because of the soil that I use. Same soil, uniformly from materials to finished bonsai. That means that it's a very workable soil, and it avoids a lot of headaches. So for now, from here, I'm going to put it into a mica pot. And when selecting the size of a mica pot, or if you should make a wooden box, make sure that it is large enough so that we're not having to cut too much more of the root. And by adding more fresh soil, this is going to grow. We're not in that finished state. We're still wanting to get this to grow as fast as possible. So get as much soil as possible in this new container. So once you have done that, we'll get on the bottom of the mica pot or whatever container. I'm going to take a small scoop and make a mound in the center of the pot. The reason for the mound is when we get ready to put the tree in, you put it on the mound and give it a really good wiggle. And that packs that bottom part that you can't get with your chopstick later. 2/3 full of soil. And the reason for it is so that it's stable. What you want to do is to go back and make sure that there is no coiling, especially around this outer edge. And you probably want to switch back to your smaller root rake because it's a little more delicate. You can also use your chopstick, but you got to make sure that it's not coiled, and you pull away from the center. This is a good quality material. There's no coiling, but I'm just double checking, and then I will go back and refill. A lot of people wire these down. Well, when you have unlike soil, you remove much more. But you notice that the soil that I'm using and the soil I use are the same. So I didn't have to take up as much of the soil, so this is nice and stable, thus avoiding having to wire down. Sometimes it's unstable, then I have to. But if you do these in the sequence that I'm doing, most of the time, you don't need to do that. Should we decide that maybe this is too tall, we could do the same thing again. Cut and take one of the side branches as new apex. But for now, I'm kind of happy with the way this looks. So other than maybe a little bit of pinching or light cut, I think I'm done. I'm going to put this away. Just hope that in a month I will remember to feed it. But I have enough. So after you complete this phase of this project, it should look somewhat like this. This is fairly rare style in that it's a formal upright with a fairly straight trunk.